Get down on your knees. I didn't do anything wrong. This fake HOA cop had a gun pointed at my 9-year-old son. Not a warning gesture, not a bluff. A real handgun, arm locked, finger tense, aimed straight at my kid's chest while he screamed that he didn't do anything wrong. Get on your knees, the man shouted. Hands up now. My son froze. His hands were already in the air, shaking so badly he could barely keep them raised. His mouth was open, but no sound came out at first, just breath. Fast and panicked. The kind kids make when their brain is trying to understand danger for the first time. Please, he finally said, I didn't do anything. The fake HOA cop didn't lower the gun. He stepped closer instead. Before we dive in, comment which country you're watching from. Let's see how far this story travels. Because to understand why a grown man wearing an HOA vest felt comfortable pointing a firearm at my child, you need the backstory. My name is Daniel Ray. I'm the county sheriff. Most people in my neighborhood don't know that, and that's by design. I don't wear my badge at home. I don't talk about work. When I'm off duty, I'm just a dad trying to give his kid a normal life. The HOA president, Marilyn Hole, hated me long before this happened. It started when I refused to let her inspect my property without notice, then escalated when I challenged her fake emergency rules. Then really turned personal when I shut down her attempt to fine half the street for violations that didn't exist in the bylaws. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I quoted the law. Marilyn doesn't lose arguments well. She especially doesn't like people who can't be bullied. So, she did what power-hungry people always do. She outsourced intimidation. She hired a private HOA enforcement unit. Black vests, fake badges, radios that didn't connect to anything. And one man in particular who loved the authority more than the job. His name was Cole Barrett. Cole targeted my son because he couldn't target me. He claimed my boy was violating community safety protocol by standing near a posted access sign. No restricted area, no ordinance, just a sign on a post and a story he made up on the spot. My son tried to explain, tried to step back, tried to comply. That wasn't enough. Cole drew his weapon anyway. That's when I turned the corner. I saw my son with his hands in the air. I saw the gun. I saw fear on a kid's face that should never have to learn what the inside of a gun barrel feels like. And in that moment, Cole Barrett had no idea who was running toward him. He thought he was in control. He was wrong. Very wrong. I was already in uniform because I was coming off shift. End of day paperwork. A deputy riding with me to drop off a report at county offices before we headed home. Same road I take every evening. Same stretch of trees. Same quiet. Until it wasn't. I saw my son first, hands up small, shaking. Then I saw the gun. Stop. I said out loud before my brain even caught up. The word tearing out of me as I threw the door open. My deputy saw it at the same time I did. His hand went straight to his radio as we both broke into a run. Sheriff's office, he shouted. Drop the weapon. The fake HOA cop didn't turn. Didn't lower the gun. Didn't even look back. Instead, he barked again at my kid, voice cracking with adrenaline and fake authority. On your knees now. My son's knees started to bend slow, uncertain, like he wasn't sure which move would get him hurt less. That almost broke me. Don't move, I roared. My badge already in my hand, held high, my voice carrying down the road. Cole, drop the gun now. That's when he finally looked. Confusion first, then panic. His eyes flicked from my uniform to my badge to my deputy closing fast from the side. My deputy didn't slow down. He took a wide angle, weapon drawn, voice locked and steady. Gun on the ground, he ordered. Hands up, face away from the child. Cole's arm wavered. For one terrifying half-second, the muzzle dipped toward my son again as his hands started to shake. I sprinted past my deputy without thinking. I grabbed my boy by the shoulders and pulled him behind me, turning my body sideways to shield him completely. I could feel his heart hammering through his shirt as he clutched the back of my uniform. I've got you, I said. I've got you. Behind me, my deputy took control on the ground now. Cole dropped the gun. It hit the dirt with a dull thud. He followed it down seconds later, face first, hands behind his head, sobbing something that sounded like excuses. The deputy cuffed him hard and fast, knee in his back. No room for mistakes. I stayed where I was, kneeling, hands on my son's shoulders, breathing with him until his shaking slowed. He pressed his face into my chest and finally cried. Not loud, not dramatic, just relief pouring out of a kid who thought he might not make it home. Sirens cut through the air moments later. Real ones this time. Backup arrived. Supervisors arrived. And finally, Marilyn Holt arrived, too. She rushed past the tape, screaming Cole's name, collapsing to her knees beside him, clutching his arm like he was the victim. He was enforcing HOA rules, she cried. That child was trespassing. I stood up slowly and turned. An officer stepped between us, holding her back. Ma'am, he said cold and controlled. Your employee just pointed a firearm at a 9-year-old. She opened her mouth. I held up my badge. That's when the street went quiet for real. And that's when Marilyn Holt realized she hadn't just crossed a line, she'd aimed a gun at the sheriff's son. If you're enjoying this HOA story so far, like and subscribe because the story is only going to get better. Marilyn Holt didn't get another word out at the scene. She tried once, opening her mouth like she was about to explain how this was all a misunderstanding. How HOA policy somehow justified a loaded gun pointed at a child. The sergeant shut that down fast. Ma'am, step back, he said. You're not part of this conversation. Cole Barrett was lifted to his feet, cuffed tight, eyes red and unfocused. He kept looking past the deputies toward my son like he was trying to understand how everything flipped so fast. He didn't say another word. The weapon was secured. Chamber cleared. Serial run. It came back registered to Cole personally, not to any company, not to any security outfit, just him, a civilian carrying a firearm while impersonating authority. That detail mattered a lot. My son was checked by EMS on scene. No physical injuries, but the medic looked at me and said quietly, "You'll want him evaluated. This kind of trauma doesn't always show right away." I nodded. I already knew. Back at the house later that night, after statements were taken and my son finally fell asleep on the couch with his head on my arm, the calls started coming in. The district attorney called first. "This is going federal," she said. "Civil rights violation involving a minor, impersonation, aggravated assault with a firearm, unlawful detention. We're stacking charges." Then Internal Affairs called, not about me, but to document the HOA's role. Then County Council. Then a civil attorney recommended by the state victim's advocate. By morning, the scope was clear. Cole Barrett was charged with felony aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, felony child endangerment, impersonation of law enforcement, unlawful detention of a minor, brandishing a firearm, and civil rights violations. He was denied bail at his initial hearing. The judge didn't hesitate. "You aimed a loaded firearm at a child," she said flatly. "You will remain in custody." Marilyn Holt's fall came slower, but harder. Investigators subpoenaed HOA emails, contracts, and payment records. It turned out Cole wasn't the only one hired, just the only one reckless enough to draw a gun. Marilyn had authorized a private enforcement unit with zero licensing. She approved uniforms designed to look like law enforcement. She signed off on intimidation tactics, and she knew Cole carried a weapon. That put her squarely in the blast radius. 3 days later, she was arrested at her home. Charges: conspiracy to commit aggravated assault, aiding and abetting impersonation of law enforcement, negligent supervision, civil rights violations, and reckless endangerment of a minor. The HOA board dissolved within a week. Every member resigned. Then came the lawsuits. The county settled with us for trauma counseling coverage for my son. The HOA's insurance refused to cover criminal acts, which meant the civil judgment hit Marilyn personally. Her house, her savings, her retirement gone. Cole took a plea deal 18 months later. 15 years in state prison, no early release, permanent firearms ban, lifetime prohibition from any security or enforcement role. Marilyn Holt went to trial. She lost 22 years, $350,000 in restitution, permanent civil injunction barring her from any HOA or leadership role for life. My son still doesn't like loud voices. Still checks my belt to make sure my badge is there when we leave the house. And every time we pass that signpost, he squeezes my hand and says, "Dad, you were right there." I always answer the same way. I always will be. And that's how a fake HOA cop learned the hardest possible lesson. Authority doesn't come from a vest, and power ends the moment you point it at the wrong child. The end.